Hello everyone, welcome back to Bear's Workshop. Today we have with us an Orbit 4-station timer. These are readily available on Amazon and Home Depot. Very common timer to put in for an irrigation system. And we're going to go over the few basics of the install for it, and then we're going to go through how to set it up, which is something that most people, I'd say about 90% out of 100% people will mess this up. This is not something that's done right by most people. It takes some time to learn it. It's not that hard, but if you don't do it for a while, you'll forget it. It's just one of those things. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over all the pitfalls of this. What are the major problems that we have with it? What are the minor problems? What are the things that people get a little hiccup on? Fairly simple. So let's go ahead and begin. We're going to unbox this. We're going to show you what comes with it. I'm going to go over that, what you do need, what you don't need, and what the best way to set this up is. So we're going to open up the box. The 4-station, the 6-station, the 9-station, the 12-station, they're all set up the same way. There's not much difference to it except for how many zones. When it says station, it's talking about how many valves you have. So if you have a 4-station timer, you are going to have no more than 4 valves in your yard. If you have more than 4 valves, if you have 5, you got to go to a 6. If you've got 7 or 8, you got to go to a 9. If you got 9, you got to go to a 9. If you got more than 9, you got to go to a 12. So keep that in mind. I really don't see any 2 stations, 1 stations, 3 stations, except for these cheap little things that you don't want to get. You want to get something that's hardwired. You don't want to get something that's battery powered. I wouldn't even recommend solar powered unless there's well, you're getting into higher end if you go with solar powered, but they do exist. Anyway, these Orbit timers come with a plug-in. First thing to know about the plug-in, well, let's hold on. This is all that comes with it. You've got your quick start timer guide. This is where people just mess up. It's just not something that works out well for people. So we're going to go over it real quick, and when you're done watching this, you're going to be an expert for 10 minutes until you forget it. It's kind of like Chinese food. When you're done with it, hungry in 15 minutes, people set these up and then they forget how to do it in 10 minutes. You do get a template, and you do get some screws and some anchors, and a set of keys. The keys are a little bit of a joke. The round key fits in right there, but you can open that with needle nose pliers. But you can still lock it and keep out people who don't belong temporarily. Anyway, template, not very exciting. Does work. You should use it. When you open up each timer, well, check it out. That one's already locked. That's odd. So we're going to use our handy key. Unlock it. You know what? Let me just show you something real quick. Any small screwdriver. See, locked. Unlocked. There's your key. Not very good. First thing you'll notice, obviously the display is not on. You got a tab here. That is for the battery. I'm going to go over the battery here in a minute. Just want to open this up so you can see the inside real quick. Inside here, don't know if you can see this or not. Go a little closer. You see the different colors there. You've got the white one, which is your common. You've got a loop right there. Don't take it off. And you've got some orange ones. We don't use them. And then there's one for a pump. Don't use that either. The ones you care about are the 4 blue ones. That's what you need to set up your irrigation timer, and the white one. Okay? This is your power supply over here. When these fail, this is one of the things that fails, is this power supply. The other thing that fails is this LCD screen. This will fail and you'll see nothing as you turn the dial, or you'll see it flash, or you'll see numbers that don't correspond to what you're supposed to be looking at. The other thing that will fail is a dial. This goes for pretty much all timers. When I say all timers, I'm talking about Irritrol, Hunter, Orbit, Rainbird, all of these are going to be set up very similar. If you move your dial and nothing happens, that's a sign that your timer is going out. If your screen's fading, going out, that's another sign your timer is going out. All these things mean you got to replace your timer soon. Things that affect the longevity of these timers, direct sunlight has a factor. Luck is mostly a factor. I've seen these last 20 years. I've seen them last 6 months. I've actually seen some out of the box that were dead. So let's talk about the battery and what the battery does. This confuses a lot of people. This battery, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. Pull out the tab. See it start to power up. People think that because there's a good battery in it that it works. The battery does one thing. It holds your settings. It will not turn on a valve. It's there only to hold your settings. If there's a power failure, no power, it's there for just the settings. It does not have enough power in it to turn one of the solenoids on a valve into the on position. If you have this, with the power on it, most of them will say no AC, or will say AC. And you shouldn't have anything on there that says anything about AC. It's telling you that you don't have it. This one right now doesn't say anything. It's not set up. And honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head if this one will say no AC. But there's usually a sign. Just because it's on, if your power's off to your house, this is not going to work. Or if the power's off to this, your AC. This is something that next thing you need to know about this. Many people plug these into outlets that are outside. Outlets outside are supposed to be on a GFCI circuit. So many times the power will trip in someone's garage, and that's tied into the GFCI that usually goes to the outside. Sometimes it's to a bathroom. That will shut your timer off, your irrigation system will not work. And you'll come out and you look at it and go, the power is on, it should work. But this battery will only last a few days with no AC power. So another thing to keep in mind. If you have no power going to this, it's a lot of the times, if you're plugged in, it is because your outlet is tripped, whether it's in your main breakers or if it's in your bathroom upstairs that's tied into an outlet that's outside. See that a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. What we're going to do is I'm going to go hang this up somewhere. We're going to set up the camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing, and I'll show you how to set this up. So be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. I got the timer mounted on some cabinets so that you could have a good view of it. It's plugged into the wall. By the way, I do recommend hardwiring it and not using a outlet if at all possible. If you're competent enough to do it, it's not that hard. It's just hooking up a couple wires to a breaker, and usually these timers are set up next to the breaker. If you're not confident, then plug it in, but just be wary of power outages. Another thing to note on the battery is I have seen units where you can put in a brand new battery and it will not hold the settings if there's a power outage. Sometimes these will go bad, and that feature can actually stop working. So when you turn your timer on for the first time, it's in the off position. First thing you're going to want to do is go to set clock. Now, don't skip this. I know that there's people out there who haven't set their VCR clocks and it's still flashing 12 o'clock, but this is important. It needs to be done. If it's not done, you're going to have things not run the way that you want them to. So right now, where I'm at, it's 8:16. So we're going to set the clock. So the first thing you do is we're at 1:09 p.m. So we're going to stay with the p.m., but we're going to start going up. And this is one of the great things about this, is you can sit here for a long time waiting for this to set. And then it's going to take off. Some of these timers don't have this feature, and they'll go slow, and you have to go all the way around. So 8:17, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. All right, so we're at 8:17 p.m. Hit the right arrow. Some of these timers will be different. If you have a hunter, it might be different. In Irritrol, it's going to be a little different, but first things first, you set this up. Okay, the clock is set. The date is also just as equally important. It is not 2016, it is currently 2018. You go up, just on this, hit the up button, then to the right. We're going to get the months right. We're going to go backwards because it's 11. And the date, and we're going to go backwards again because today is the 29th. And now we've got the date set. Now start times. Let's talk about start times for a moment. I prefer start times, 2 start times in Arizona. Where you are, it's going to vary. You use what's good for you, or good for your location. I use 5 a.m. and I use 9 p.m. Reason I use those 2 times is because at 5 a.m. usually nobody is in the yard. No one's going to get hit with a sprinkler that comes on and starts spraying them. Same thing at 9 p.m. Kids are usually in bed, gone, doing whatever kids do at 9 p.m. So 5 a.m., 9 p.m., people aren't going to be in the yards. People aren't going to be going next to their cars that may be parked next to grass and getting hit by their sprinklers as they're trying to go to work or something like that, or coming home with groceries and the sprinklers come on. I also try to avoid daylight hours because daylight hours means the water is going to evaporate. So depending on where you're at, you could lose a certain percentage of your water to evaporation before it can settle down into the ground. So in order to avoid that, you water it when the sun's not up. So we like to, in Arizona, water our grass twice a day. That helps it keep it green and good all through the summer. So 5 a.m., 9 p.m. That's in the summertime. Sun's coming up at 5, but it'll give it time to sink in. 9 p.m. the sun's already set. So that will hopefully keep the ground moist all through the day, because that's the goal, is you want to keep your ground moist, not soaking, not sopping, not splashing around, but you've got to do it that way. You got to just keep it moist. All right. So anyway, so we're gonna put in 2 start times, and this is where people have an issue. You've got to understand how these timers work. First, on most of them, there's an A, B, and C program. Okay, so you got the program button up here, and you got your rain delay. I've never used a rain delay. I live in Arizona. It rains once every 3 months. So, except for monsoon season, then we get some rain. So we don't even use that. So, program A, B, C. Okay, most houses that we go to and we visit can get away with 1 program. Some of them will have 2. Sometimes people get really anal about things, and if they want to, they set up their timers and they put in 3 programs because they want to separate everything. They separate it because they want multiple start times for one thing but not for another. We're going to do a 2 program setup so that everybody knows how this works. Things to understand about these programs is that when you set your start time, it's not for your zones, it's actually for your program. If I set a start time in here, which I'm going to do right now, and I put at 5 a.m., that's telling program A to start at 5 a.m. One of the most common mistakes, and this is the most common mistake, is that people say, I've got 3 zones, and they'll put the first one in, and then they'll be like, the first one's going to run for 15 minutes, so I need the second one to run at 5:15. This is incorrect, because now we have 2 start times and for program A, and we're going to put 2 zones on program A. We're going to put 2 grass zones. That's what we're going to call this, and we have 1 bush zone, and that's what we're going to put that on program B. So a lot of people get into this and they go, well, I need my first grass zone to start at 5 and it's going to go for 15 minutes. I need my second one to go for 15 minutes. I'm going to start that one at 5:15. It's not how you do it, because what this is set up for right now, the incorrect way, is that zone 1 will start at 5 o'clock and zone 2 will start as soon as zone 1 finishes, no matter how much time you put on zone 1. And then at 5:15, if the program, the first start time is still going, it's just going to keep it's going to finish, and as soon as it finishes, whether it's at 5:15 or even if it's at 6 o'clock, the second time is then going to start up. It queues up. So this is now set up for 2 zones to go off 4 times, because it will go off at the start time for the first one at 5 a.m. for zone 1. Zone 2 will go when zone 1 finishes, and at 5:15 it will start again. So now we're going to set up our runtime. And this is, remember, program A to start stations 1 and 2. Stations are the same as zones. Zones are the same as valves. Valves are the same as the section in your yard that pops up at an individual time, and then another section pops up. That is all by a valve. Okay, so runtime, we're going to go with 10 minutes for station number 1. We're going to hit enter. Station 2, we're going to do 10 minutes also. Enter. Okay, now next question is, how often do we want this to go on? So we've got our little lights on here. Right now we're flashing on Sunday. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I can barely see it, but I'm old. All right, so we're going to hit the plus, and that's going to turn on for Sunday, and we're going to keep going. And we're going to keep going, and we're going to actually skip Thursday, because we're going to say Thursday's the day we do the yard here. So I hit the right arrow, and I'm going to skip that. Go Friday, Saturday. Okay, so now we're set to go off every single day. Bring you in a little bit closer to make sure you can see that. And then bring you back out. Hope nobody got dizzy doing that. All right, you do have intermittent and odd and even. Okay, intermittent is to go every 3 days, or every 4 days, or every 5 days. If you go every day, some people put intermittent 1, that means every day. If you go 2, you're skipping a day. Odd is on odd days. Even is on even days. If I need to explain the odd and even days to you, there's going to be some other videos that you're going to need to watch that might be in the preschool section of YouTube. But we are now all set. And we can actually turn this to auto, and we've got our first zone and program set, program A. But we want to do a program B, so we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna go back to start time. And we're gonna hit program B. There's nothing there. And just to confuse you, I'm gonna set this one for 5 a.m. also. Okay? And we're gonna go ahead and hit the right arrow and leave it. See? Go back. It's set. The reason I can put this at the same exact time as the ones on program A, and I'm going to do the same days, is because it will queue up. It will wait for program A to finish. It will not go off at the same time. It will not send your drip line going at the same time as your sprinklers. Okay? You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to overthink it. It is a queue. It is a line. It will wait in line until it's its turn, and the timer will say, "Hey, you, program B, come on, your turn, get up here." And you go, and it's done. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. Our runtime, we don't want it on, we want to put it back on program B because it came off. Confirm. Okay, program B. Now we're going to go back to runtime, program B. This one's switching back to program A for some reason. We don't want station 1, so we're going to hit the right arrow. We don't want station 2, we want station 3. That's going to be our zone 3. And we're going to say that that's our imaginary drip line that's watering all of our bushes. Okay? So now we want this to go for 30 minutes. And slowly we go. Oh, we could have seen if we got the right number there. Now we hit enter and we go. Now we could have put this all on program A since it's going off on the same day, or we can just put it on different days, and it'll all queue up. You can have, without any problems, you can have different times. So I could have had zone 1 go for 10 minutes and zone 2 go for 15, And reasons why I might do that is maybe I have different sprinkler heads, and they need more water. Maybe I had some rotary heads and those need to be on for longer. Maybe I am on a slope and I need more water to go on there because it's going to drain, so I need more water to sink in. There's different reasons why you'd have zones set up for different times. Maybe you have more heads, and because you have more heads, you have lower pressure. There's a lot of different things. So we've got this now set up for zone 3 is 30 minutes. And then we're going to go to how often, what days. So we're going to go every other day on this, but we're going to do it manually. So Sunday is already circled. Zoom you in a little bit. And then we're going to go right, and then minus again. We're going to go right. See, Thursday's blinking already, and that one's already off. And we're going to go to Friday. Friday's where we want it. We're going to go off on this. So we're getting 3 days a week. So we're going to assume that that's going to be enough in this imaginary world. I guarantee you nothing will die in the imaginary setup. Maybe in real life. Okay, so now we would just turn it to auto. A lot of people forget to turn it back to auto. You got to turn it to auto, got to turn it to on. Otherwise, it will not start. Now that we're on auto, we see that the next start time, it's flashing. It's 8:31 now. Next start time is 5 a.m. on program A. If we had set program B for 4:45, we would actually see program B come up as the next start time. But it's not. But it's just going to follow it. This is all set up. This is a up and running timer, good to go. Now, there's two other things I want to show you. One is budget. Budget, that 100 is, you can't see it. The way you can see it, look, squint, right there, there's a percent sign. It's 100%. So that is 100% of the value of what we put in. So if we put in 30 minutes, 100% of 30 is 30. If we wanted to cut back the water and not have to go through and change every zone and everything in here, we could just go to budget and we can just go down to 50%. And now, if we do this and we go back into runtime, what we're at is a 10, but it will only run for 5 minutes. So that is a little trick to make things easier when you come into wintertime. You could also go over 100% and you can go 150%. You can go above what you need to. See, the percent sign is actually set up there. Now that it's on, it's been changed. So this is basically a winter setting. Go back up to 100 and we're good. So last thing that you want to look at is how to manually check everything. We're on auto. We can go to manual right here. And this takes a little bit to get used to. Which buttons am I pressing? You hit enter. You have an option to do every zone that's set up. And so you go from enter and it will just start into it. So it is now turning on the imaginary zone 1. Okay, if we looked at zone 1 and say, okay, everything's fine, we're just checking this out, everything looks good, we hit the right arrow, it's going to go to 2. And now, okay, we look at that, everything's great. We hit the right arrow again, it's going to go to program B, and it's going to go to zone 3. It's doing all stations that are set up. You could have another line in here, you could have a zone 4, but if you didn't program it in, it's not going to run it. It's running through this actual setup that's in there. Most people don't want to sit there for 30 minutes while they're testing their timer. It gets kind of boring. It's basically you're watching water drip. That's not really exciting at all. So there you have it. That's a pretty roundabout explanation of everything that you need to know about how to set up an irrigation timer. You got to keep in mind the thing that most people are going to mess up is just putting in start times and just putting in too many. Do not put in more times than you want to see it go off in a day. Okay, so if you want your sprinklers to go off twice a day, do not have more than 2 start times. If you think you're going to put in 3 start times on program A and 3 on program B and 3 on program C, you're going to start running into 9 start times and you're going to find yourself living in a swamp because it's going to go off so much. We have walked up to people's houses and found start times, 4 start times in each program, 12 start times, and they're going off for 30 minutes each time. You do the math on it, and they end up running 20 hours a day, and they think that they have a leak. Well, there is water leaking out, but it's because it was set up to leak out. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to ask the questions. I'll answer them because I know the answer. If it involves this timer, I know the answer to it. If it involves any setup of a timer like this, I'm going to know the answer to it. Ask me the question, I'll give you the answer. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.